One. This thing rolling. There it is.
You're alive.
Greeting class. Chris Haskins here with the realestateroundup.com. Thank you for joining me today. We got a great training for you this evening. I finally been able to lock down Jessica Siegel. How you doing, Jessica?
I'm good, Chris. How you doing? Hi, everybody. I'm excited to be a part of this tonight.
All right, let me open up my page so I can make sure that this is going right here. If you don't mind, give me 1 second.
Sure.
View on watch page. Open tab. So I can get the questions. Chat, screen share. Excuse us, everybody, because I have no idea. We are learning how to get this technology working to make sure this thing runs smooth. But today, our training isn't going to be with Jessica, how she is. Jessica is an attorney in New York. But the great thing about Jessica is that you are also a real estate investor, is why I love working with you.
Yeah. Yes. I've been an attorney for 18 years, so that's what I call my day job.
Okay.
But I've always been interested in real estate, and so a couple of years ago, I decided to stop watching from the sidelines and jump in and actually do it. And it's been fantastic. And I learn as I go, just like we're doing here tonight. And I love sharing my experience as a new investor to help others take that risk and do it because it's a fantastic opportunity.
hmm Great. Now, hold on, Jessica. Let me make sure this thing
Sure.
is working. Make sure I'm good here. Good gracious. Let's talk about this. For some reason, this thing is not coming up. Did I not save it live? It says waiting for some reason.
On my end, it just shows live.
Okay. Let me just check. Usually it has a thing to where I can come here and look at it. Let's see. I have viewers usually coming in. I don't have any viewers yet. 1 second, Jessica. Let me check this thing
Sure, no
one more
problem.
time.
Take your time.
On here, live streaming. Streaming offline. Oh, I see why I got it on private. Okay, that's why. We might have to start over with our little introduction.
Sure.
It's just moving a little slow for some reason. It's only been 2 minutes though. Okay, we're public. All right, this is it. Finally. Good gracious. That was challenging.
All right. I knew you
All
could
right.
figure it out.
Whew. Real estate is hard. This technical stuff is harder than real estate. Okay. Greetings, class. Chris Haskins with the realestateroundup.com. Thank you for joining me today. I've got a special guest in the building. Well, not in the building, online with me today. Jessica Siegel is an attorney in New York. And what I love about Jessica is she is also a real estate investor. What's going on, Jessica?
Hey, how you doing, Chris? Hi, everybody. I'm excited to be here tonight. Talk to you a little bit about what I do every day and share some of my experiences for new people starting out.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Our topic for our class today is going to be how you just won a lawsuit, a $1.1 million lawsuit against another real estate investor. But give us a little background about you and how you got started and what brought you to real estate.
So I've been an attorney in New York for 18 years, and I'm a litigator. I'm a trial attorney, and I handle all aspects from criminal and civil litigation. And I started out my career as a prosecutor and then moved into private practice.
Okay.
And I love being in the courtroom. But what really drives me is my interest in real estate. It comes from my family background. My grandparents had real estate, my parents, and it was something that I always wanted to do. But in New York, real estate is very expensive. It's really hard to find a good deal. So I started to pay attention to the surrounding neighborhoods where I lived, started to notice what sale prices were, what rents were. I would read the newspaper every day to see what kind of rental market there was. I started going to real estate investment seminars and getting as much free information as I could. I took books out of the library. I used every free resource I could to learn as much as I could. And I just kind of kept watching from the sidelines. And a real estate broker friend of mine told me about a short sale condo. And I decided this was it. It was now or never. And I just jumped in and I said, I'll figure it out.
Good for you.
And it's been going great ever since. But it is scary to finally take that leap.
So tell
Um,
me real quick. I don't. I hate to cut you off, but the reason we're 15 minutes behind, just give it. You were doing something with a tenant, and tell me about that.
oh yeah, always. Okay, so my day job, what I like to call my day job, 9 to 5, is basically my law practice, and I do that full time. On the side, I have two rental properties. I have a one-bedroom condo and a multifamily home. The tenant of my multifamily home moved out at the end of May, and I used that opportunity to renovate the kitchen. If I
Okay.
updated the kitchen, it would get more rent.
Yep.
So I brought in a contractor, did a fantastic job. And I wrote about that process, where I got the money for that and how I did it, in my last article using a home equity line of credit.
Okay.
And so that renovation came out fantastic. And now I'm screening tenants. And I use free resources like Zillow and Craigslist, and I've had dozens and dozens of applicants that want it. I don't just take the first person that shows up and says yes. I really screen my tenants so that I'm dealing with someone who can afford it. That's the
Yep.
most important thing.
Hmm.
And that, they will be a good fit for the kind of tenant I'm looking for. I always look for a more long-term family type of tenant that's going to take care of the property. Eviction is a killer for me. If I don't have a tenant, it's taking money, and food out of my own family's mouths. So
That's right.
I've been actually screening for a good solid 3 weeks, and I've had many people interested, but it wasn't the right fit. I don't want pets. I don't want smokers. I want a certain level of income for the rent. So I
What type of
finally
income
found
did you want?
someone today, and it's a great fit, and I'm very happy. And it works out. I feel like I want somebody who, I'm in a good school district, so I want somebody who's got kids who's going to stay. I don't want someone who's just going to move out. So there was some college professors that
Okay.
were looking to share, and
Hmm.
they certainly had the income. No pets, no smokers, but I knew at the end of the school year they were going to moving on.
Okay.
So I didn't want to rent to them because I knew at the end of that lease period I'd be starting from scratch. So
Mm,
I'm looking for someone who says, my kids are in the school district here. I'm looking to live here for a few years. So that's
gotcha.
really what I look for, low turnover.
You got
Um,
somebody you like, you think.
I provide heat and water in my rents. So believe it or not, I'm looking for a smaller family. Even though it's a 3 bedroom, I want to limit how many people are living there because that affects how much heat and water they use.
That's
That
true.
makes sense. So I factor all of these things into my tenant.
Nice. So you got somebody you think you like.
Yes, I think it's a great fit. She loved it. I liked her, and we're going to move on to the next step, which is a criminal background check, which I know she'll have no
Cool. Did you do an application on it today?
Sorry?
Did you do an application or did she turn in an application
No,
already?
so what I do is I don't require an application. If they like the property and I like them, I send them a link through Cozy. I use the app Cozy, COZY. It's
Cozy. All right.
$40. Yep. It's free for landlords.
All right.
And you send the prospective tenant a link. They pay $40. I consider that the application fee. If
Good.
someone doesn't want to pay $40, they're not the kind of tenant I want.
I don't want them. That's fine.
So they put in their social security number, their date of birth, all their personal information. I never have that, so I don't have the responsibility of having that information.
Nice.
Then within a day or two, so they pay however they want, credit card or whatever. Within a day or two, I get an email with their full driver's license history, any evictions, credit history check. It also proves and corroborates that they are employed because it'll show where they're employed. It's a fantastic resource. I get so much information out of it. And I think that's part of the reason I've had so much success with good tenants.
Maybe we can include that for our newsletter next month, Jessica. You be
Yeah,
holding back
absolutely.
on me.
You got it.
All right. I didn't even know about that one. Anyway, okay. So
Yeah.
Cozy, COZI.
We teach each other stuff all the time. It's a great app. It really is. You can also collect rent through there. I don't do it, but you can.
Okay.
So yeah, so I work during the day as my lawyer. I ran to show the apartment to prospective tenants, and now we're here live. And I want to talk to you guys about this case because I think it's just such a great learning tool for
Yeah,
other new investors.
that's right.
So if you want, we'll get into a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Just in case, I wonder, my topic is attorney wins $1.1 million lawsuit against real estate investor. That is our training for the day. Let's start with the backstory, Jessica.
Yeah, so the backstory is this. Landlord is an older guy in his 60s. Okay, he was in sales his whole life. Nice man. He looked so much like my grandfather. Decided like out of the blue, he was going to live the American dream and own real estate with no experience, which is okay. We're all starting new somewhere. But he didn't like get a mentor. He didn't do any research. He didn't learn anything. He just went to what's called a tax sale. And I did put this in my last article. And every county has them. Every state has them. And basically the county will auction off property if the owner doesn't pay taxes. And you get a fantastic deal, but they're usually in horrible shape. Because if somebody's not paying their taxes, they're typically not maintaining the property.
Yeah.
So in the course of 2 years, he bought like 10 properties.
Wow.
That were really run down for dirt cheap.
That's okay.
So from an investment perspective, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And some of them were 3 and 4 family units that he bought for $10,000, $20,000. The house in question that we're talking about was a $40,000 purchase. It had 4 units.
Mm-hmm.
He never, these are the issues, he never had an inspector come in and do an inspection for him. So that he knew what he was buying in terms of safety.
Wow.
He never went to the town to check if there were any open violations, to see if the house even had a CO.
Oh, wow.
He basically just bought it and let people move in.
So for our viewers that don't know what a CO is, what is that, Jessica?
So a CO is a certificate of occupancy that the town gives you to basically says this is a safe place to live. You have to meet certain codes and requirements to allow people to rent from you.
Gotcha.
And every homeowner needs one. I needed one in my house before I could move in. And it's basically protection for the landlord. If you have your CO, that's proof that you are following all the rules and codes of the town you live in.
Gotcha.
And So there was in fact open dangerous violations on this property.
So he bought it with open violations, open code
Yes.
violations. Oh yeah,
Yes.
wow. Okay, maybe that was mistake number
So,
one, Jessica.
well, I'll say this. If you're an investor, it's not a mistake in that that's why it's a good deal. But you have to then come in and make those repairs to make
Yeah.
it safe. And once you make those repairs, they weren't major repairs.
Hmm.
Then you get your CO and you're good to go. It needed things like carbon monoxide and smoke alarms. Those are very inexpensive things to put in.
Yeah.
And the deck in question, this particular one, it was a deck. The lag bolts weren't secured to the building, which means basically there was nothing securing the deck to the apartment building.
So we've got the backstory on the owner. So tell us a little bit about the story regarding what. Yeah, let's get into the story of what happened.
Right. So, okay, so he buys all these properties.
Yeah.
Now I'll say this. He was smart enough to know to put the properties in the name of a limited liability corporation called an
Okay.
LLC.
All
An
right.
LLC is a fantastic tool. I could spend another whole podcast on that. But
Yeah.
basically, what that does, it provides the owner protection. Whatever assets are in that LLC is the only thing at risk. Your personal bank account, your personal home, none of those things are at risk.
Gotcha.
So I personally put each property in its own LLC so that the only risk from a lawsuit is that one property.
Okay.
He put all of his properties in the LLC. So
That
he had
one.
multiple in one LLC. So now every one of those assets is at risk from this $1 million lawsuit.
OMG.
Yeah. But I mean, it was smart in that we couldn't go after his personal home or his personal bank accounts. The only liability attaches to the assets of the corporation.
Gotcha. Wow.
So that's a must. So he did that right.
Okay.
But now he's got these properties that are run down, all kinds of open code violations, and he puts no insurance on it. And this is a big deal.
Wow. Are you talking
Fear of
about no insurance,
insurance.
like just hazard insurance?
Right. No, nothing to protect his property, even if it burned to the ground for him,
Wow.
but no liability coverage of any kind if somebody was hurt on his property. And he didn't do that because it would have been expensive, one, because it's a rundown property,
Yes.
and two, he wouldn't get insurance because he didn't have a CO.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He would have to turn that into
Right.
the insurance
So with
company.
he basically was just being cheap. He figured, I'm not fixing these repairs. I'm not getting a CO. I'm not getting insurance. And I'm just going to collect cash rent and ride it out
Wow.
and take it to, so from a landlord perspective, it was everything you shouldn't do. This was the case example.
Hmm.
So
So maybe the
he,
insurance companies, they might not have even
so
insured this.
it is possible. It is possible. He didn't have a mortgage. He paid cash for it. So there was no mortgage company requiring the insurance. So
There
that's
you
also
go.
how he got away with it.
Yeah. I thought
So
insurance companies are getting a lot more strict these days regarding the condition of houses.
yeah, absolutely. And it is true. It is possible that maybe they wouldn't give him
Yeah.
insurance. That is possible. But if he had fixed it and made the repairs and had a CO, he would get insurance.
Gotcha. So we didn't have
So,
insurance buying these houses. Bought houses, didn't have insurance.
right. And I always tell people, do not skip out on insurance. Do not go cheap on insurance because at the end of the day, it is so nominal. Like we discussed, $1 million of liability coverage is typically around $200 a year.
Yeah,
I mean, if you can't afford that, don't be in the real estate business.
that's right.
You're basically just going to ruin yourself without it. And
That's it.
liability insurance on the home itself is also nominal, a few $100s a year.
For the year, yeah.
It's just so important. I'll say this as an attorney, the first thing people go after is insurance. If you have insurance coverage, they typically settle the claim.
Yeah.
So nobody wants to go to trial over a few $1,000s over insurance coverage.
Mm-mm.
This case went to trial because he had no insurance coverage.
Mm.
And he had no money, he claimed, to pay the victims outright. So it was cheaper for him to pay his defense attorney than to try and settle the case for the plaintiffs.
Did he even try, or did you guys even approach him with a number to
So
settle?
he offered them $5,000, which is a joke. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what he offered them. Now, these particular people were just visiting this
Yeah,
apartment building.
give us the story. Give us
Yeah.
set the scene.
So the scene is this. So this particular landlord was renting to, I'm going to say this, passing no judgments. They were illegal immigrants
Mm.
who paid cash and were willing to live in unsafe conditions, which is very upsetting to me. He
Yeah.
was basically just taking advantage of them because they're vulnerable. They wouldn't complain to authorities or go to the town about the code
They
violations.
couldn't probably. Yeah.
Right. So they, and he was getting like $600-700 a month from each of the 4 apartments. And
Wow.
he owns like 3 or 4 houses that he was getting that much rent. So, I mean, he had significant cash flow coming in. So the plaintiffs were friends, and the plaintiffs are citizens, hardworking people, just like me and you, and
Oh,
they
Jessica,
are,
we get,
yeah.
one of our financial investors says we're getting feedback. Can you turn your volume down, maybe? I've got headphones on, so my volume's on 0.
Sure, I'll turn my volume down if that helps a
Turn
little
it
bit.
on a little bit. Thank you.
Okay.
1 2 1 2 1 2. Oh, that's
That's
clean. That's clean. Yeah, I don't hear anything. Sorry about that.
all
Thanks,
right.
financial investor. Go ahead.
Okay, so plaintiffs are friends with the tenant. They're
Illegal
there.
in town. Okay.
Yep, they're friends. They go to visit the tenant.
Mm-hmm.
They spend some time in the apartment, and then they agree they're all going to go back to my client's house for dinner. So they are leaving the apartment.
Okay.
The wife steps basically, onto the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Husband comes out behind her on the deck, and it just collapses 15
This is
feet to the ground.
yeah. Okay. Second floor.
Second floor apartment,
Okay.
and
Oh my.
just totally bottoms out.
Okay.
So the stairs and the walls of the deck stay, floor just falls out.
Oh my lord.
And so they basically free fall 15 feet, landing on cement and ice.
Oh my god. Oh, what time of year was it?
It was late March, and it was still snow and ice out
Good
in
God.
upstate. It was upstate New York.
So we got 2 people
So
here. Are they both illegal immigrants as well?
no, so they're citizens, and they are just visiting their friends
Gotcha.
who lives there.
Okay.
And they get taken to the hospital. They actually get airlifted
Oh
to,
Lord.
because of the nature of their trauma. They had open fractures, hip, literally bones sticking out of the leg type of injuries.
Oh my
Broken
god.
hip, broken femur, broken tibia. The husband actually landed on top of the wife, which he honestly saved his life because she kind of broke the fall. So he broke his back, but without her, he probably would have been paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh
if you
my
can
lord.
imagine, they basically can't take care of each other. So they're both for about 2 months in separate hospitals and rehabs,
How old are they?
late 50s.
Okay.
No work, nobody to take care of their home, no
Oh,
family in the area. They end up doing rehab over the course of a year. It took them about a year to get their life back and then be able to walk again and
just
do
to get
physical therapy.
just to get back moving, basically.
Yeah. The injuries that they had were really severe. So, I mean, take a minute just for yourself to think, about how your family would be impacted by that if you weren't able to work, you weren't able to take care of your home or your family or your children, right? And they did absolutely nothing wrong. They're simply there as a guest. And what we discover through the preparation for trial is the fact that there was no joists, no support joists, no metal joist hangers, no lag bolts.
Oh, wow.
And so the deck wasn't built to code, and that was an open violation, which would have easily been discovered if he looked.
Was it an addition? Was the deck, did it come with the house or did they add it on after?
We don't really know. It had been worked on by a prior owner.
Okay.
And it had the open code violation on it because he didn't do it properly.
Gotcha.
Then he stopped paying his taxes and the house went to tax sale.
Okay. All
right. And
they're in hospital. They're in hospital. They're getting their, what is it? Going through therapy. They're getting better.
Physical,
and then
right. So, they had multiple surgeries, physical therapy. And then, the apartment that they lived in had stairs. So
oh my gosh.
The wife testified that she literally had to go up and down the stairs on her bottom because the brace that she had on her leg, she had pins put in her hip and her knees. She couldn't bend her leg. So, I mean, it was very compelling, their testimony. And what comes out of it is he really didn't care. They were very simple. The landlord just didn't care. It was very simple to check, to have an inspection, to do basic maintenance. He did nothing. He owned that property for 9 years. 9 years. Wow. So, if you buy it and the accident happens a month later, you could turn around and say, I didn't have time, or whatever. Yeah. But to the jury, it was so egregious because any one of us can relate to that. So the way the verdict comes out is it's money to pay back their hospital bills. Yeah. Because they're on the hook for that. That affected their credit history, the liens against them.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean liens? That for the medical bills?
So the husband had no health insurance of any kind, which a lot of people can relate to. So his hospital bills were like $250,000. And he basically, what the hospital agreed to do was put a lien against him, meaning it's a recorded debt against his credit history on file forever until it's paid back. So if he tries to buy a car or lease a car, or he ever tries to get any sort of loan, the creditors are going to see this giant lien against him. So it really does affect him. So part of my argument to the jury was you have to compensate him for his medical bills, which they did. Mm-hmm. Then was just the pain and suffering that they endured. So part of that $1 million is reimbursement for health costs. Part of it is pain and suffering that they endured. And then part of that is for the pain they'll have in the future, because they're never going to be whole again.
Yeah, broken hip. Good. Yeah.
So what the lesson really from this is, do your due diligence.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You know what I mean? When you're buying a property and you're getting a great deal, it's okay that it needs repair, but just make sure you do two things. You go to the town and you personally check what are the open, if there are any violations. Is there a CO? Is it safe? And then if there's nothing there, hire an inspector, hire a professional to come in and look at everything and say, it looks great, or this needs work.
Was it something that obviously you could have, I mean, looking at it, anyone could have seen that it was in disrepair, I'm thinking.
Yes. And that's what the jury felt, because of course I had pictures of everything. They saw pictures. Mm-hmm. And the landlord's testimony was, I looked at it, it looked fine. It was fine. And he hadn't, obviously not looked at it.
Sympathetic? I'm just thinking of,
I think honestly, the reason the jury gave them so much money was because he was so arrogant about it.
Mm.
He took zero responsibility. He lied multiple times. You know, as my job as an attorney is to cross-examine him,
Yeah.
and he testified that there were no code violations on the property.
Obviously, you know that before you even ask because it's on city
Right,
record.
right. So
Mhm.
I got a full copy of it, and so one by one, I kept showing him the
Mm.
open code violations. So the jury sees all that, and he just repeatedly lied. Um,
Oh, wow.
so, you know, part of it is yes, he was so unsympathetic.
Gotcha.
And the plaintiffs were very sympathetic given what they went through, and they had zero fault. Like they did nothing wrong.
Okay.
If they were drunk and jumping up and down on the deck, and you know,
Necklace.
maybe somebody'd say you had, you know, or if they lived there and never complains,
That's what I was gonna
maybe.
ask. I didn't know it was a visitor. I was gonna be like, why the hell are they in the deck? Well, why
Right.
would tenant let them go on the deck and say, hey, that deck is falling down. You shouldn't be out there. You know, I think it's. I mean, did that conversation not happen? Perhaps.
Um, yeah, I'm sure it didn't happen.
Mm.
And then, you know, basically he told his tenant, if you cooperate with the trial and testify, I'm going to report you to immigration.
Oh, espionage. Good lord.
So they took off. I couldn't find them for the trial.
Oh, they're not even available for the trial.
No, I had to go. My only witnesses were the husband and wife
Oh, wow.
and the code enforcement records. Yeah,
Which those the code. I mean, you cannot those open code violations. That is one of the first things I check on every rehab that I do
right.
because people do work to your property, you know, and they don't get a
Yes.
permit, and they'll
Yes.
screw it all up. And then a year later, after you sell the house, they're you know, and somebody just like this, even for renovators, it can be a problem.
Right. So even the property that I'm just renting now, I did a kitchen renovation and I had to do some plumbing work. So I did get a permit to do that plumbing work. And the company that I was working with, they're really good. And so they scheduled the inspection to close out the permit and the certificate of occupancy for me.
Oh
They
wow.
walked through with the inspector so they could explain what they did. And so obviously it closed out. And now I just have to go and get a copy of it for my records. But I will definitely keep a copy for my records. So if something ever happens, I have proof that I followed code and I did it properly. So my advice always is keep records of
Hmm.
everything you do to document when you've done an inspection or when you've gone to the town or when you've done any maintenance, keep all those records
Yeah, you get
because you want to protect yourself if you were ever sued.
so we're gonna say what could this owner could have done differently, Jessica?
Yeah, so this owner, very basic things, which we, you know, make sure you have good insurance. Okay.
Tell us a little bit more about that because I got some insurance based on our relationship and this
Yes.
conversation. Go over that a little bit for our viewers.
Okay, so there's two different types of policies, and there's private insurance you have on your home, and that's fine. That's your residential insurance. On a multifamily property, it's called commercial insurance.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more money than on your private residence, but not much. And it's specific for rental properties.
Okay.
So I have, and I highly recommend this, I have a local real estate, excuse me, a local insurance broker. And I have an account manager, and she knows me, I know her. And when I have questions, I call her and she finds the best policy for me as a landlord,
Gotcha.
which is very different than her policy for my car or my personal home. So
Okay.
she found me this company, it's called Erie and Niagara.
Erie, yeah, I guess so.
Erie and
Yeah.
Niagara, and they have great coverage for landlords. And what I really liked about this policy is they even covered, which is rare, the water line and the sewer line from my property to the street.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
And you have to pay a little bit extra for it, but it's
Yeah.
probably $5,000 to repair it and about $35 for the part of the premium.
Yeah, it ain't cheap.
So it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. So I what they do is they ask you the estimated value of your home,
Hmm.
and then that's what they base the coverage on.
Gotcha.
I don't do any contents. As far as I'm concerned, my tenant is responsible for that. Okay. I'm just covering my structure if it's
Gotcha.
damaged.
Yep.
And then I put what's called an umbrella policy
Okay.
for $1 million on that property as well. An umbrella is just for liability. If I've done something wrong, if I'm negligent, if I'm liable, somebody gets hurt, I have $1 million in coverage, plus I have the protection to repair my own structure.
Gotcha.
So if, let's say, there is fire or water damage, I have protection to my property, and I can now also deal with any medical bills, lost wages, anything that my tenant faces as a result of negligence. And I, as an attorney, I'm hypersensitive to that. So I, of course, have an inspector. I walk my property grounds, and I often will ask my tenant, hey, how's it going? Any issues? Anything you want me to know about? And I do that often so I can document, she never told me, or he
Gotcha.
never told me there was something wrong. I have to have notice for me to be responsible. So I encourage landlords to have a good rapport with your tenants, and every couple of months, just check in. How's it going? Any issues? Anything needs to be fixed?
You
And
know,
when they say no, that's good. That's helpful to you.
you got a track record.
Yes. Yeah. And I actually did that recently. I specifically asked my tenant, hey, I've got the electrician here doing some updates. How's the lighting in the staircase for you? Is it enough? Do you like it? Do you want more light? They're great tenants. They've been there a long time. If they wanted me to put in more, I would have done it for them. Because again, the cost is nominal for me, and it's a safety issue. If they raised it, they said to me, nope, it's plenty of light, no issues.
Nice, nice.
So now if somebody falls down the stairs, I can say, you told me there was no issue with the light there, and you just tripped, so those are the kind of things you build in protection for yourself.
I got a model too. I'm like, listen, if I got $100,000 out, drive by the house from time to time. You know, people got this
Yeah.
whole passive income thing, 4-hour work week, Timothy Ferris
Yes.
type, don't want to. I'm like, look, dude, if no one cares about your house more than you, nobody.
That's right. I do it all the time. And I'll stop and take pictures.
Yeah.
I had my last tenant, a tenant, I knew that he had his adult son living there.
How'd you know?
Because I could see that the heating bill went up. I could see that the water bill went up. And I basically, what I did was I drove by at like 5 in the morning, and I took a picture of the car there. And then I drove by at 11 o'clock at night, and I took a picture of the car there.
Nice.
And so when I said it's time to move out, and we can do it the easy way, and you can just leave, or I can evict you, I showed him the pictures.
Nice.
And he quietly moved out.
He must not he must not have known you were an attorney.
Well, the funny thing is he did. I am very upfront. And I tell people I live nearby, I will be around. I want them to know we're going to have a good relationship.
I care.
Yeah, I care about my investment. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I have to say, it was great to help the plaintiffs because they really needed somebody to help them and take on this landlord who basically offered nothing to them, no money of any kind.
That is sad.
And the flip side to it now is, now we have to get access to those assets, right? So all the properties that are in the LLC, now the lawyer side takes over. We force what's called the sheriff's sale. We force sale of those properties to liquidate them.
Liquidate.
And then the plaintiffs will get their money.
Wow, that is, holy cow. Basically, there is no option to not pay.
Correct.
That's a bad seat to be in right there when they come
Right.
after
And
you.
because he had several properties in the LLC, we have access to all of those assets.
Oh man, he's in trouble.
Yeah.
income.
So
Okay.
basically, make sure you know that your property is safe. Keep an eye on it and have really good insurance.
Yeah. Thanks to you, I got my umbrella. I got my umbrella
Good.
policy up.
Yeah,
I don't want
it's
to.
good.
First thing they're gonna do is come after me, Jessica. They're gonna come after me.
Well, that's what happens. They look for deep pockets, in all
That's
seriousness. And they're always looking for deep pockets. It's not right. And that's the part about practice of law I don't enjoy. You know,
mm,
people do try and take advantage of you. Um, and I try and fight for the little guy. That's really what I try and do. I try and protect, people who have really been hurt. And,
mm,
it was unfortunate that I had to sue a landlord, a fellow landlord and investor, but he's the kind of person that gives us a bad name.
yeah.
If he had done the right thing by his tenants, this would never have happened. It was so preventable.
So did he have? I'm presuming he had legal fees on top of this too.
He did, well, he did, but I don't think he paid his attorney.
How's that possible?
Well, that's between him and his attorney, but I don't
Oh,
know that he
okay.
was
I see.
paying his bills to the attorney either.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to add about this case before we get to our questions, Jessica?
No, let's answer some questions.
Good gracious. Let me scroll up here. All right. Da, 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 da. I didn't catch that link. Oh, you got that. Okay. Was this property a rent? Gary Douglas, thanks for chiming in. Was this property a
Hey,
rent
Gary,
to own or a regular rental, Jessica?
what was the first part of that question?
Was this a regular rental or was this a rent to own that you're referring to here?
My understanding is it was just a regular rental. He purchased it, he bought it and held on to it for a few years and collected rent.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right, Todd. Hey, Todd. Financial investor. Yeah, thanks,
And
Todd.
that's a good question. And when you're buying it from a tax sale or a foreclosure, you're just buying it outright. There's
Hmm.
no special financing.
Well, I think he was probably referring to the tenant that was living there.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
You know
no,
what I'm
he
saying?
was just paying cash rent.
Yeah, cash rent, basically because he was a illegal immigrant, which is terrible. Okay, what we got here? Bear with me, guys. I gotta get my technology. Todd, hey Todd. Cozy, he's saying it's
Yes,
COZY.com.
yes,
Cozy, that's the one we're looking to for the background checks.
yes. And it has all kinds of services for landlords. I only use it for the background check part.
Gotcha. I'm gonna check that too. With the
You can
app,
actually set it up and have your leases done through there. You can just collect rent through there. They've a lot of great options.
nice. All right, keeping up with the Joneses. Okay. With the app Cozy, will you get the $40 sent to you, or does the app take all that as their fee,
The,
Jessica?
the, the app, that's their fee, and that's why I like it. I have nothing to do with it. It they pay by credit card directly to Cozy. It's
Okay,
Cozy's fee for running the background check.
I see what you're saying.
I just get the report.
Okay, so you get none of that.
I get none of that. I don't, and honestly, I don't want the
Don't even care.
responsibility of having their personal information. Once you take on somebody's personal information, you're legally obligated to protect it, not share it.
Wow.
There's a burden for that.
Hmm.
So I purposely want to remove myself from that.
Y'all hear that? That's coming from an attorney. I never thought
Yeah.
about that. I'm just collecting applications. I collect applications all day on my rent to own stuff. So we've got financial investor, co-eligibility, tenant screening reports, background checks, credit reports, all $40. They have bundles too, I see here.
Yes. Yep.
Don't be
It's
cheap.
very easy to use, so user friendly.
Okay. I want 150,000. But we can settle out of court. Oh, that's somebody. Please, Justin, what kind of asset protection, if any, did the real estate investor have on this property, Jessica? This is from Justin Fats.
Okay, Justin. So he had almost no, well, I would say there's no protection other than the fact that he had the property in the LLC.
If the LLC is just a barrier, though, I mean, if they're coming after you, they can pierce that quickly, correct?
Correct, correct. Right? But so if you are keeping separate bank accounts, your money, your personal money and your business money is separate. You're paying business expenses through that business account. If you're not commingling your money in any way, then then you can't go after their personal assets, right?
Gotcha.
So that's the only bare minimum protection he had.
You
There
can.
was no other asset protection for the landlord, which
Gotcha.
is ridiculous. At the very least, he paid $40,000 for it
Hmm.
cash. So if you have no insurance on it and it burns to the ground,
Yeah, yeah.
you just threw away $40,000.
Yeah, that was a weird one. I bet you he probably couldn't get insurance because they're really cracking down on me, even for a bad shingle. I'll get a letter
Okay.
in the mail from shingles being missing or something. Okay, property investor, LLC, insurance, umbrella policy are the most. Okay, good tip. Financial. Todd Smith. Hey, Todd. Do you recommend having an umbrella policy on your personal residence? This is from Todd.
Oh my God, Todd. Yes, please call tomorrow. Let me tell you something. I recommend that you have an umbrella on every single property you own, whether it's your personal or your business. And the great thing about an umbrella policy is it's going to cover your car and your personal home. So any any anybody that's in your car is protected by that umbrella as well. So if
Hmm.
you cause a car accident, or if somebody trips and falls in your home, if you have pets, if you have a pool, if you have any type of hazard, the UPS man can trip and knock a tooth out,
Sure.
the umbrella covers you from everything, and it's so cheap. I mean, mine in New York is $200 for $1 million coverage.
Now, is that when you say umbrella policy, is that for each house has its own umbrella policy?
So I have an umbrella policy for my personal residence.
Okay,
That's one policy, and that's connected to my personal homeowner's insurance.
gotcha.
And that covers my car, my personal home. I then have a separate umbrella for under the commercial policy for the multifamily home.
Rental property. Okay, gotcha, gotcha. All right, thank you, Todd, for chiming in
And also, I factor that into my rent calculation.
regarding the
So
monthly payment.
the monthly fee from all my insurance
There you go. Okay,
is factored into my rent calculation.
Mr. Wall Street Stone, Mr. Wall Street Tone. He has a $1 million umbrella policy and would recommend it for everyone. That's good.
That's right. Good, good.
The HVK. This makes me want to just stick to REITs and index funds. Oh boy.
I would love to get into those. That'll be my next step.
Most people don't start out on it. Let's see. Any questions there? Well, the story.
But the risk is worth the reward, right? So,
Yeah. I never. Okay, Matt. Hold on. Let me go. Good gracious. Do you recommend? I'm sorry, Jessica. Let me go here. The story that did we on Avery. Okay, Mr. Wall Street. Jessica, do you recommend one property for each LLC? Mr. Wall Street Tone. He has a
okay.
two.
So here, this is the part where I'm going to say this, right? I have to say I am not
Uh-oh.
creating an attorney-client
There you
privilege
go.
when we discuss this. This is just general advice that real estate investors are discussing.
Gotcha.
So, I personally, in New York, and different states are different. I have each property in its own LLC, like I said, because you're limiting the assets that way. Some states have what's called a series LLC, and it's excellent. And I wish we had it in New York, but we don't.
Mm-hmm.
And if your state has a series LLC, it allows you to put multiple properties into that one series LLC and protect your assets. It allows you to kind of separate them out.
Gotcha.
So I highly recommend you get an attorney in the state where you're investing. Build a relationship with an attorney who specializes in real estate and real estate investors.
Mm-hmm.
And they will give you advice in your state as to what the best thing to do is. In New York, I I believe it's a good practice to put each property in its own LLC. And there are upfront costs with that. Every time you create an LLC, you're paying the state, you're
Yeah.
paying the publication, doing those things. But
Every
at the
year.
end of the day, to me, the $700 or $800 in costs
Hmm.
is worth it because you're protecting your assets individually.
Very true.
And
Wow.
if you own multiple properties, it's how you protect yourself from getting wiped out by one tragedy.
Wow. Thank you for that one.
Sure.
All right, let's see. That was from Mr. Wall Street Tone, Gary Douglas. When starting your real estate, this is from Gary Douglas. When starting your real estate, did you start by buying rentals or fix and flip, Jessica?
So I've only done buy and hold because that's what I was interested in because I'm looking for long term as a form of retirement investing.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to do a fix and flip. I've tried many times and I'm outbid, and I've yet to score a good deal. In New York, it is really hard to find a good fix and flip deal.
Yeah,
So
it's everywhere. Shit.
it's on my bucket list of things to do as an investor. But I started out, my very first purchase was a short sale. And
Mm-hmm.
that basically means it was on its way to foreclosure. And I came to an agreement with the seller and the bank to buy it before it foreclosed.
Gotcha.
And that one was in horrendous condition. And I renovated it and now I rent it. And the second one also was bought by a very motivated seller who was getting married and just wanted to get out. And I got it at a great deal.
Nice.
But they're only good deals because I plan on keeping them for at least 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, so you'll pay back the principal, pay the principal
Yes,
down.
right.
Thank you, brother Gary. Okay, Matt G. Matt G. I never knew you could force someone to sell in an LLC, sheriff sale.
Yes, that's
How?
basically the tool.
That's not called that's a that's not a foreclosure.
No, no, it's different
Sheriff
because
sale.
the sheriff basically just orchestrates the sale of the property.
I like that. That's gangster. How about if properties are in a land trust? Can you force that sale?
Okay, so I'll tell you, I don't know enough about land trusts to answer that question. Um, so I would say consult with an attorney in your state to get the
Gotcha.
answer to that question.
Gotcha.
I will say this, trusts are an excellent estate planning tool because what it does is it helps avoid probate. So when
Yes.
you own a home, especially it's typically for a personal residence,
Mm-hmm.
and you put the home in a trust, it just passes straight through to your beneficiaries.
Yeah.
I know Florida uses trusts a lot
We use
as a
them.
means of protection, asset protection, but
In,
I'm not familiar with it. And I think that's an excellent question,
yeah.
and definitely encourage him to talk to an attorney about asset protection using a land trust.
Gotcha. Yeah, we use trust for every single property, Jessica.
I,
And
I don't,
what?
no, I mean, I don't think you can ever prevent a sale
Yeah.
of the asset if you're
If-
liable.
That's right. If you got the right attorney and they got
Right,
the right liability, yeah, you said it
right.
right, the liability.
Did you say that land trusts are popular where you are?
They are popular, I believe, everywhere, Jessica, to the people that know how to use them.
Okay,
Ironic that you asked me that because before I learned how to use trust, I was scared to death of them. Now I'm scared to death not to use them,
okay,
because we like to operate in anonymity and we buy properties around town, just like Walt Disney would have done, I'm sure, in Orlando. He
okay.
wouldn't have bought it in his name, right? Or he would have used the
Yes.
trust to buy. So,
Well, I need to learn more about that then.
yeah, maybe we'll do a webinar on that too. All right. Hey, Chris, getting a bad echo. Well, we got that fixed. Which one is best, LLC or land trust? This is from Quality Childcare. I guess we kind of went over that one. She's not really doing land trust. An umbrella will be an extended liability to motorcycles and boats. Okay, Indianapolis. What's the most ridiculous thing you've seen someone? Okay, the HVK, real quick. What is the most ridiculous thing you have seen someone get sued over or try to go to court and sue? You want to touch that one, Jessica? This is from the
Oh,
HVK.
my goodness. I guess I've been fortunate. I really don't have any ridiculous
Frivolous stuff.
stuff. I deal mostly with people who know they're wrong and just don't want to settle, and it
Mm,
goes to trial.
gotcha. All right, class. This is it. No other questions. Jessica, what would you like to leave our viewers that are not only real estate investors, but they own real estate. We hold real estate as our assets, and this is how we feed our families with the income from the rental
Yes,
properties.
right. So what I say about it is you have to approach it like it's a real business and it's like cash, right? And so like any other asset you would have, 401k, a big savings account, whatever it is, you're going to want to protect it. And I encourage people to have a personal relationship with a local attorney. You
Yes,
need to start building a team. You should have a personal attorney, you should have an accountant, and you should have, people that you can call at any time and say, look, this is what I'm facing. What do you think? Just
power
like the
team.
land trust versus the LLC.
Hmm.
You want that opinion of somebody who's doing it in your neighborhood. And that to me is the most important thing. I have my team, even just being an attorney, there are attorneys way smarter than me that have done more in real estate. And I go to them and I say, what do you think I should do?
There you go.
And I go to my accountant for everything. And that's what is saving me from a future mess.
Gotcha.
So I would say to leave people with, talk to an insurance, have a local person. Don't just have somebody online that gives you the cheapest rate. Have a local insurance person that you deal with that knows who you are, that knows your face, that's going to be looking out for your assets.
Gotcha.
Have your attorney, have your accountant, build your little mastermind.
Mm,
Because at the end of the day, the little bit of prevention that you do will make it worth so much more in the end.
that's right. That's right.
What do you
Okay.
think? What
Yeah.
would be your last comment on this lawsuit?
I guess the first thing is I don't know. You gotta care. I
Yeah,
feel like the guy. Forget all this trying to dodge shit. Let's just get out of that whole mindset because we're not trying to avoid our obligation to our communities. I'm just like
right.
we provide. Not only do we provide housing, quiet enjoyment for our tenants. If the shit is that bad, it needs to be addressed, especially this since this is not a rent to own or an owner finance thing. If you're the bank, if you own a mortgage, the mortgage company doesn't care what,
Yeah,
they won't be liable for any damages to the property. But if you have a regular rental like this, I'm like, you gotta care. At least go by there one. And he owned the property for 9 years. I'm driving by there at least once a year. I mean, that would be. I do way more than that, but that would be the bare minimum, Jessica. Driving
yeah,
by once a year to see the shit, you know.
yes.
So okay, that's all we got. Class, till
All right.
next time.
It was great to be a part of it, and I look forward to the next one.
All right, listen, our monthly newsletter. The first thing you said. What were we talking about? The very first comment.
Oh, about my rental, trying to find a tenant,
Tenant. I'll
or
rewind the video.
cozy. No, cozy.
That's right. We'll do a video on that one, or we'll do the newsletter on that.
Okay.
Guys, subscribe to my channel below. Jessica is one of our newsletter editors, doing a wonderful job. If you'd like to get a subscription, just shoot an email or we'll put a link in this video here. The newsletter, the Roundup newsletter comes out every month. It's got articles by me and Jessica. I'm bringing on a health guy too, Jessica, so he can help us with
Yes.
our.
And if people want to send you questions of topics that they would like me to cover,
Oh yeah,
I would love to get the feedback and know what people want to read about.
that's right. So we'll use this as a kind of a guide to see what people would like to hear on the newsletter. That's a good idea.
Yes.
Any topics you'd like Jessica to cover, please put them in the comments below and like the content. And we'll see you guys next time.
All right.
Peace.
Have a good night, everybody.
All right, bye.